book of John tonight, chapter number 11. Book of John, chapter number 11. I've got this old thick belt on. Can you stick this in your pocket?
I can.
Yeah. You just have to walk fast with me now, okay? When I stop. Don't keep walking, okay? And book of John tonight, chapter number 11. I'm going to begin reading tonight in verse number 20. The Bible said, then Martha, as soon as she had heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But notice she says, but I know that even now whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it to thee. You know tonight that you can know just about all there is to know and still not believe.
Right.
That's what's wrong with Martha. And she was a very knowledgeable person. You couldn't tell her nothing.
Yeah.
You know anybody like that tonight? And, I mean, finally you just look at them and say, I don't even know why I'm even trying to tell you this. And she said this, but I know that even now whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Jesus said unto her, now what a statement. What a statement. Jesus said unto her, thy brother shall rise again. Now right there, they ought to call for time out and just had a shouting spell. But not Martha, because she knows everything. Martha saith unto him, I know he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day, but that wasn't what Jesus was talking about. Jesus talking about right there in the graveyard, before the sun set, before much took place, her brother was fixing to get up out of the grave. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. And he that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Now notice what he asked. He didn't ask her, don't you know this? Looks like you, if you know everything else, look like you ought to know this.
Yeah.
That wasn't what he asked her. Because you can know everything and still not believe. He wanted to know, believest thou this? And she saith unto him, yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And that's a great thing to believe, but this was not what he asked her. And when she had so said, she went her way and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, the Master is come, and he calleth for thee. And as soon as she heard that, she arose quickly, came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him.
Yeah.
The Jews then, which were with her in the house, and comforted her when they saw Mary, that she rose up hastily, went out, followed her, saying, she goeth unto the grave to weep there. And then when Mary was come where Jesus was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet. That was just something about the feet of Jesus that Mary appreciated. She fell down at his feet and saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Notice this, when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. And this is what Jesus said. Jesus said, where have you laid him? And they said unto him, Lord, come and see. Verse 35, the shortest verse in the Bible. First verse I ever memorized as a boy. In fact, all 37 of us boys in the church memorized that verse that day. I remember used to when I was a little kid. I don't know why I don't see it anymore, but they used to have the kids come up in front of the church and share a memory verse that they had memorized that week. And I wasn't about to get up there because I hadn't memorized nothing. And my mama leaned over at me and said, Jesus wept. And I said, what? Say it one more time. Jesus wept. I got it. And still about forgot it. True story. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, behold, how he loved him. And some of them said, could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Jesus therefore again, groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, take ye away the stone. But guess who's got to say something? The one that knows everything.
Yeah.
Them kind of people put you in evangelism. Well, my minds are going 103 miles an hour right now. Amen. And Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord. Now this right here proves she didn't believe. By this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days already. Now my thought is this, that if Jesus can take care of the dead part, the stinking part ain't going to be no issue. And I love, Brother Doug, I love the way Jesus answered her. Jesus said unto her, Martha, 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 said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God. Yeah. In essence, what he's saying to her was this, hey woman, you just got to believe. Chill. Believe. Right. Reckon tonight what you and I are missing out on because we don't believe.
Amen.
I hear it all the time, Brother Doug. They tell me, they say, boy, sure ain't like it used to be. Yeah. Could it be because we're not believing like we once believed? Amen. Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and he said, no, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. But he hasn't said nothing. That's right. And then he said this, and I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it. That they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus said, or when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. If he hadn't have said, Lazarus, come forth, everybody in the graveyard would have got up when he said, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus said unto them, loose him and let him go. Amen. John chapter number 11 probably is one of my favorite passages in the Bible to preach from. And but in verse number 41, I notice he said this. He said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And then he said this. He said, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But the reason why I said what I said was because of the people which stand by. And he said what I said was for this purpose, that they might believe. Would you agree with me tonight? You will not go wrong this evening by watching Christ.
Amen. Amen.
And then, would you agree with me tonight if I was to say this? You'll not go wrong tonight by not just watching him, but following him and trying to mimic the life that he lives. So here in this passage, we find that thankfulness is Christ-likeness.
Amen. Amen.
Now, I'm going to trip some of you up. I know we still got a few weeks till Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Amen. And we're not sitting at a table with a lot of food and a turkey.
Right.
And going around and asking everybody what you thankful for. I notice when my grandkids start to get a little older, we're trying to implement, but by the time we try to implement it, they have done destroyed the table. So finally I said, whoa, put it down. We ain't gonna eat yet. And they look at me with this look like, man, I ain't eat since breakfast. And then I said, what we're gonna do today, we're going to start saying what they are thankful for. So I asked the oldest, Weston, I said, Weston, you first. What are you thankful for? And he said, I'm thankful for food. Can I eat? True story. And so we're a little early to be thinking about this. But the truth of the matter is this, that Thanksgiving should not be a seasonal experience for us.
Amen.
It ought to be a way of life.
Yeah.
Every day ought to be a day of Thanksgiving. Amen. Now, to be honest with you tonight, I don't know if I've ever seen this as my reason for being thankful. And that is simply this: Christ was thankful.
Amen.
If I was to ask you tonight, why are you thankful? Probably immediately the first thing comes to our mind are the many blessings that we enjoy tonight that we know we would not have this evening if it wasn't for him.
Right.
But can I tell you tonight that I've got a better reason to be thankful than just the fact we got a roof over our head, shoes on our feet, clothes on our back, food in our belly. We're warm tonight. We're not on the streets. We're inside enjoying the blessings of God. And you say, well, what would that be? Christ was thankful.
Yeah. Amen.
I've been instructed tonight to be thankful. 1 Chronicles 16:34, the Bible said, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he's good.
Sure.
He says in 92 of Psalms, verse number 1, it's a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord in a world filled with bad things. Tonight I got something good for you to do.
Yeah.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and sing praises unto thy name, O Most High. Oh, aren't you glad tonight that, my friend, it's not seasonal. Every day can be a day of thanksgiving.
Yes. Amen.
Truth is tonight, if Christ, who's God in the flesh, who's never had a need,
Right.
if Christ, Brother Bob, can be thankful, how much more tonight should you and I be thankful? And then let me ask you this: what in the world would he have to be thankful for?
Yeah.
He's God. You said, how do you know that? Because he said so.
Yeah. Amen.
He said this, I and the Father are one.
Right.
He said this. He said, when they said, show us the Father and how it sufficeth us. And he said, man, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father.
Right.
And so here's the Father with his hands lifted up towards heaven, and with a loud voice he said, Father, I want to thank thee that thou hast heard me. And he said, I didn't say it because I needed you to hear me say it, and you needed me to say it, but I said it for these that are standing about me, and for you that are in the seats tonight, that we might believe and be thankful tonight. That we might be thankful. I noticed this. Whether you got it or not tonight, I'm preaching on divine thankfulness.
Amen.
And you know what was so unusual about this that we can learn from? That number one, he was thankful in spite of the place that he was in. Now, I've not lived as long as some, but I've lived long enough to know that some places in life, it's just a little harder to be thankful than in others.
Yes.
And you say, well, what's wrong with the place he was in? It was a graveyard.
Yeah.
It was a graveyard. And you know what I believe why that he said, I'm saying this, that it might benefit others. He said, I want them to know you can be thankful in a graveyard.
Amen.
Because if you know him tonight, the grave is not the end.
Right. Amen.
He didn't see, my friend, a sealed tomb. He didn't see what everybody else was seeing. Martha, especially, a stinking dead body of 4 days already. He didn't see that.
Right.
He saw the gravestone about to be rolled away.
Yeah.
Lazarus was fixing to get up from the grave, victorious over the grave. And he said, Lord, I'm thankful.
Amen.
That thank God this is not the end, that I got power over this.
Amen.
And then number two, Brother Doug, I tell you, he was thankful in spite of the problem that he was encountering. And that was the death of a loved one.
Yeah.
Now, you and I all know it's coming. How many believe it's coming tonight? Wave at me. For some, sooner than others. Amen. We know that it's coming. But boy, when it comes,
That's right.
it's still hard.
Yeah, it is. Amen.
You know, I pastored people when I pastored, that it seemed like that when loved ones passed away that it made them angry.
Yeah.
They got mad. And I'm trying to comfort, and they told me they don't need my comfort. How in the world could God do something like this? What have I ever done? What have they ever done? And I said, well, explain to me this, how he could give his son for you and I.
Right.
I said, when you explain that to me, then I'll explain that to you. And what I'm trying my best to tell you is this, that for those of us tonight that saved by the grace of God, redeemed in the blood of the Lamb, death is not the same.
Amen. That's right.
That's Havner said this in regards to us that are saved. He said death is nothing more than just going to sleep.
Yeah.
You remember he told the disciples, he said, hey, we got to go. They said, where you going? He said, our friend Lazarus is sleeping.
Right.
Show you how slow them fellas were. They said, well, if he's sleeping, and he's doing okay, isn't he? And Jesus said to him real slow, like he has to talk to us sometimes.
Right.
Lazarus is dead. And And then he said this, and I'm glad. I'm glad that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
For the sake that you might believe.
Yeah, right.
And what I'm trying to get you to see is this. Paul admonished the church at Thessalonica. He said this. He said, now in regard to these loved ones that have gone on, he said, I will not have you to be sorrowful, brother,
Right.
as those that have no hope. Now he didn't say that it was wrong to be sorrowful. But he did say, for us that are saved by the grace of God, that it wasn't right for us to sorrow as the lost people sorrow. Why? Because I'm telling you, it's not over.
Right. Amen.
It's not over. When my mother passed away in 2011, Brother Doug, I couldn't grieve like some of my other kinfolk were. They acted like it was the end.
Right.
Because I knew that my friend, my mama, was not in that casket.
Right.
I remember mama passed away at the house. We out at the house, took care of her. We was there when she made the crossing. And the last thing mama said to me was this. She said, Dave, I'm tired. And I said, Mama, why don't you go and take your rest? I said, you fixing to rest for good. And I said, you go on. I said, we're right behind you. And you know she did.
Yeah. Amen.
And I remember this. I remember when we went to the funeral home to view the body before all the other viewers come. And the undertaker was a man that I used to be his pastor when he was a little old boy. And he come up to me and said, Brother David said, I tried to fix your mama just like the first time I saw her. He said, I put some color in her hair, and said I put a little makeup on, and if it's too dark, I can lighten it, or if it's not dark enough, I can darken it, and said, I hope it's okay. And I said, can I see her first? And brother, when I went in there and saw that body for the first time, I was blown away. Because he had took all the wrinkles out of her face.
Yeah.
And her hair was full of color. And she had makeup on. She looked like she was 50 years younger.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa. I said, man, that's something. And about that time, the Holy Ghost of God slid in there by me and said, psst, that ain't nothing. He said, you wait and see what I done gone and done with her. Amen. I'm trying my best to tell you tonight that for those of us that's saved, that's got hope in our soul tonight, that the grave is not the end, that they're in a better land tonight, far greater and far brighter than today. Oh, listen to me. If we could just see them.
Amen. That's good.
He was thankful in spite of the place he was in spite of the problem that he was encountering, the death of a loved one. But he was thankful in spite of the people that was around him. You know what I've discovered in life? I've discovered this, that it's just easier to be thankful around some people than it is others.
Yeah.
Especially, Josh, them that are continually reminding you of how bad it is.
Yeah.
They don't see no positiveness in nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, now you're looking at, man, it's bad. And you say, God, this is bad. And then what you don't need somebody to come up to you when you're looking at something that's bad to remind you, say, boy, that's really bad, ain't it? Yeah. You know anybody like that? Wave at me. When I pastored, I learned who not to ask, how you doing? Because 20 minutes later, they are still telling me how bad that it is. And then I cry out to God, please don't make me go out there and face them people after that today. Oh, I am in no shape to do nothing but go home and hide. But Jesus was.
Yeah.
But then I want you to get this. Not only was he thankful in spite of the place he was in,
Right.
he was thankful in spite of the problem he was encountering. He was thankful in spite of the people that was around him.
Right.
But he was thankful, Brother Doug, before the prayer was ever prayed.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Yeah.
He looked around, he said, it's gonna get him. And they're waiting on this, and he says, watch this. I'm glad you heard me. Thank you. And they're saying,
Right.
it was a prayer of faith.
Yeah. Amen.
What he was saying is this, Lord, I'm grateful for what I'm about to ask you, because I know you hear me always. And he said, I just don't have to have it in hand before I can be thankful. I can be thankful without it being in hand.
Amen.
Does that make sense? Faith.
Right.
Faith. Faith. You know, a lot of our praying, real sincere praying, is faith.
Yeah.
I remember years ago being in my place of prayer, and it was one of those times in my life that it seemed like my petitions wouldn't get no higher in the ceiling. How many's ever prayed like that? It just seemed like it wasn't doing you no good. It's just a bunch of words, and you're hearing this voice by then saying, man, if I'm as good as I do, I just quit. I was in one of those times. And then about that time, Brother Doug, I just stopped asking, and I started thanking him.
Amen.
And I didn't say it in general. Lord, thank you for the blessings. I started naming them. And I just started going down the list. And I know why you're looking at me, you ain't going to believe this. But you'll never believe in all your life who showed up in that prayer time of my life.
Amen.
There's something about a prayer of thanksgiving.
Yeah.
A prayer of faith.
Amen.
Amen. Jesus here in chapter 11 is showing that sometimes thanksgiving comes before the blessing.
Amen.
Before there ever was action, there was thanksgiving. Before there was ever asking, there was thanksgiving. It's a statement of great faith. It's saying, Lord, Father, I don't need it in hand to be thankful.
Amen.
I don't have to have the blessings of life to be thankful. I don't have to have a roof over my head to be thankful. I can be thankful tonight because Christ was thankful.
Yes. Amen.
3 more quick things. And just be grateful. It could be 6. But 3. This kind of thanksgiving, Brother Doug, this kind of praying, number 1, pleases the Father.
Yes.
Because this morning, without faith, it's impossible to please Him. And then number 2, this kind of thanksgiving will prepare your heart for your miracle.
Amen.
You know what's wrong with us tonight? We've gotten over the miraculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to have it.
Yeah.
We've learned how to get by without it.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Are we okay?
Yeah.
We don't have to have it. Because if we really need a miracle, this always comes in handy.
Right. Right.
Are we all right? Reason with me. Didn't he go to reason that if there's something miraculous that you need that only God can do, like a brother in a grave, bound for 4 days, and
Right. Amen.
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Doesn't he go to reason that if we really believe it's going to happen, that it's just going to be better for us if we're standing there when it comes, thankful.
Yeah. Always thankful.
I didn't have to have this because I knew still God was going to do it.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
When my son and daughter-in-law has never, ever, ever in all of humanity, history, time, life, days back, done nothing normal. It's always got to be something.
Amen.
And so I asked, they had 5 grandbabies. They had 5 children. I had 5 blessed grandbabies. But they said I was going to have another one. And so she was with child with the 6th one. And but this time, they decided not to find out what it's going to be until it come. And I looked at them. I said, who in the name of heaven does that anymore? And I said, beside that, how am I going to know what to buy?
Amen.
And he said, and that's the point. And then I said, and you are my son? Amen. So, but deep down, they wanted another little girl to go with the one they had and the 4 boys. And Abigail was sandwiched in it. Had 2 mean boys, sweet Abigail, well, most of the time, and then 2 mean boys. And so she needed some help. I mean, we started her in karate classes. And she can scrap with the best of them, believe me. But Amanda wanted something to try to offset the disadvantage that she had. But she didn't say that. She said that we're grateful for whatever God sees fit to bless us. Well, she got real heavy with child. I'm talking about, in the words of President Trump, huge. And so, I mean, I'm talking about busting huge. And so finally, she says to me, she says, you know, Brother David, she said, it's going to be a boy. And I said, how do you know? And she said, I can tell the way I'm carrying it. And then she said this, and I didn't go, no. She said, and I can tell by my moods. And I said, good enough for me. If a woman says she got moods, she got moods. And men, you better leave it at that. Oh, don't look at me like that. Amen. You know I'm telling, hey, you late. But anyway, and so I was preaching one Sunday morning, and Josh calls me on the phone and said, Dad, I'm headed to the hospital with Amanda. And said, you should have another grandbaby after lunch. And I said, I'll be there after I get through preaching. And so I went by the hospital. Me and her dad was inside the room with Amanda and everybody until business picked up. Then we got out. And we're out in the hallway, and me and him doing this mushy father-in-law type of stuff. Dennis, thank you so much for raising me a daughter for my son. Good golly, woman, be my son's wife. And he said, Brother David, thank you for raising my daughter, a husband, a good golly man. We're just having our own good time out there. Our moods was all messed up. And so about that time, here come the doctor and just about knocks us down and opens the door, and he goes in there. About 15 minutes later, we heard crying. And so he said, well, congratulations. It's a little. And then Josh, he kept on just carrying on. I'm just kidding. He said, it's a little girl. And about that time, after about a minute and a half later, I don't know what happened, but Josh said, well, it is. And so he was happy with a little girl.
Yeah. Amen.
And then they started sobbing and crying uncontrollably, thanking the Lord for this miracle. Their thankfulness before it ever got there had opened up their heart and prepared their heart for a miracle.
Yeah. Amen.
Divine thankfulness. And then lastly, I say this. We ought to be thankful because it's, number one, it's pleasing to the Father.
Right.
But number two, because it's just Christ-like.
Amen. That's right.
You know, I'm trying to work on that this year.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
I want to be thankful for no other reason but that Jesus was thankful.
Amen.
And I want to be like him.
Amen.
Now, reason this with me, and I'm through. They told me to land a plane, so I see the runway and I'm coming in. See if this ain't so. Reckon how the Father would feel about you if you said, Father, I tell you what I'd like to do these coming weeks. I'd just like to be more like your Son, Jesus. And I don't need nothing in hand to do it.
Right.
I said, I just want to be thankful.
Amen.
Because Christ was thankful.
It's good.
Amen?
It's good.
Amen. I watched Finley. Is that right?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I remembered her name. I watched Finley got up and I've been coming here long enough that I remember some of y'all was just a little bigger than that, but y'all was getting...
Right. Right.
And I leaned over and told Autumn, I said, better not go to sleep. I said, she's getting up in the choir singing tonight, but I said, it won't be too long. She's going to be leading.
Yeah, right.
God sure been good to us, hasn't he?
Yes.
God sure has been good to us.
Amen.
Let's be more like Jesus this year, okay?
Yeah, buddy. It's good.
I got to tell you this. I didn't mean to lie to you. Give me a break. That won't be 2 lies in 1 message. Amen. I got to tell you this. Have you ever sat in a worship service and the preacher gave us opportunity? Anybody got a word for the Lord? And we sat back and we try to figure something big he's done for us lately.
Yeah.
And the time comes and it goes. When the truth of the matter is this, it ought not be the big things in life that makes us thankful.
Right.
We ought to be able to thank him tonight because he's Jesus.
Yes.
Don't need nothing. I'm just thankful I know him. I'm in. Amen. While we stand tonight,